This is our video on the immune system response, T cell recognition, and memory. So we're going to go through an overview of the T cells. So first you have a pathogen or an antigen, and then you have an antigen presenting cell that can be a macrophage or a B cell or something like that. But this case it's a macrophage, and the antigen or pathogen is engulfed by the macrophage, and then it is digested and broken down into smaller pieces. Those pieces are presented on the surface of the cell on a MHC molecule. So then you have a helper T cell that comes by with its antigen receptors that are specific to the shape of an antigen, and the antigen receptor will bind with the MHC molecule and the antigen, and will be able to detect the shape and begin a signaling pathway. The response of that pathway is to activate B cells. So B cells are what create antibodies and help fight disease in your body. It can also activate more macrophages and other antigen presenting cells, and then lastly it activates killer T cells, which actually kill infected cells in the body, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So this is just a basic overview of what the T cells do, and we'll talk about memory T cells. So when the antigen is first exposed, it's engulfed by the antigen presenting cell, and then the the regular cell activates the B cells, which create antibodies, and the helper T cells also activate the killer T cells, which fight off the infection by killing the infected cells. And so it does this whole job, and it's not the fastest. My understanding is that it's not the fastest process ever. But after being exposed one time to this antigen, that helper T cell becomes a memory T cell. So next time it is exposed, it will recognize the shape of the antigen, and we'll see what happens then. So the antigen is exposed a second time to the body, and the memory T cells kick into action. They've already seen this antigen and they recognize the shape of it, and they activate the B cells almost, a lot quicker than they would if they hadn't already been exposed. And they also activate the killer T cells, which the killer T cells are also memory killer T cells, so they carry the memory of that specific antigen. Basically, this process happens a lot more efficiently and quickly after the antigen has been seen. So let's talk about what happens to an infected cell in the body. So it carries the antigen in it, fragments of it, and then it also has MHC molecules and displays the antigen fragments on the cell surface. So the T cell comes up with it and has antigen receptors similar to the helper T cell and binds with the MHC molecule and the antigen, and then it starts a signaling pathway, which the response is producing perforin, and it's also producing granzymes. So the perforin forms pores in the cell's membrane, and granzymes are enzymatic material that break down proteins, and the granzymes enter the cell through endocytosis. So the granzymes initiate apoptosis of the cell, leading to the fragmentation of the nucleus and also the fragmentation of cytoplasm, which eventually will lead to cell death. So that's it, and thank you guys for watching.